think he went to go check on something. I don't know. Everybody's coming in now. This is great. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Heidi Brumbaugh. I have a PhD in linguistics from Simon Fraser University. And Rob, our moderator, asked me a little bit, what's the history of this game? And I think I'd have to go back pretty far in my life to identify that. But I think the biggest thing is I studied languages in college, and I always felt like I would get to a certain level with the language and then plateau. And it was very frustrating, but it took some time. And after a while, I think I came to realize that plateau was always around vocabulary. And, so I always started thinking more and more about, how to help people boost their vocabulary in a way that would be fun. And, it took a lot of time. I ended up going back to graduate school, studying computer assisted language learning, and just really kind of diving deeply into vocabulary. But the result is the game I'm going to be talking to you about today, which is Vocab Victor. And it is a word learning app for smartphone devices. And I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation here. I'll talk a little bit about what Vocab Victor is. I love doing these talks for teachers because I can kind of get into the nitty-gritty details of the pedagogy and the linguistics. Then I'm going to give you a game demo, and then I'll come back around and talk about using Vocab Victor in a blended classroom and some tools that will help you kind of strengthen your students' experience with the app. So what is Vocab Victor? From the first time I was thinking about this app, I wanted it to be a game. So first and foremost, it's a game. And I didn't want it to be a game because I love games, although I do. And I didn't want it to be a game because games are fun, although they are. But what I was trying to do was meet my user where they digitally lived. And I had this idea in my head of like a student who is coming, maybe from China or something, and studying English in a university and playing games on their phone on the way to school. And I wanted to catch them in that moment and offer them a game that would help them improve their vocabulary instead. So the app, when you run that app, everything takes place in Victor's Tower. And I just want to mention too, Rob will be moderating. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat room, and then I'll check in with him periodically to see if there's anything to address. So Victor's Tower kind of has this common motif with the levels of the games. There's 3 different games on each level. You have to finish them in order to go on. And the games get harder as you progress up the tower. In terms of the pedagogy and the linguistics, a lot of what I'm doing came from Paul Nation, who's pretty much the leading thinker in vocabulary and linguistics. And he wasn't the first person to do this, but, he came up with a very good articulation of the different types of word knowledge that, people talk about when they're studying vocabulary. And I really tried to integrate as much of his work as I could into this game. Here's... we're going to focus especially on word associations. And we'll also talk about the repetition of words in different contexts and something fun called stealth assessment. And a core idea of the game, which is that each time people play the game, they get a different game, different words, different matches. So start out, we have 4 different word games, and they each teach different types of word knowledge. One of the core types of word knowledge I wanted to focus on when I built this game was word associations. And the reason is that it has to do with the way words are stored in the mind. So the mental lexicon in the mental lexicon, words are stored associatively. So you have butterfly matching with caterpillar, matching with cocoon, moth, insect, and then also thematic relations like red, yellow, black, garden, flower, beauty. And then you also have collocations like madam, so madam butterfly. So these are kind of how words are stored in the mind. And one of the things we know about this is that native speakers have very rich lexical associative networks. So if I say red, you'll say white, you'll say black, you'll say blood, wine, all these associations. But non-native speakers have extremely sparse networks, and this, might be part of the difficulty that they have with their language progress. The other thing I want to talk about is repetition. When I was studying Russian in college, my teacher always said, "Повторение мать учения." Repetition is the mother of learning. And I think that that's particularly true when it comes to words. So I talked earlier about, hitting that plateau. The beginning learners' experience is very different than the intermediate learners. They pick up words very quickly. And if you think about it, it's because the words are very frequent, so they see them very often, which makes them easier to remember. Now, this is like, from your brain's point of view, it's like a giant movie theater-sized bucket of popcorn. Book, 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 teacher, teacher, teacher. Of course, they're going to remember the words. But as you go up to the kind of the mid-frequency level words, they're less frequently appear, so they're harder to remember. It's like meeting somebody at a cocktail party. You have a great conversation with them, and then you see them 6 months later. Of course, you don't remember their name. So part of Vocab Victor's goal is to strengthen the knowledge of frequent words and try to teach intermediate words using repetition. In other words, try to make the exposure to the mid-level words more like the high-frequency words that they see at the beginning. So do we have any questions so far, Rob?
No, just people are asking about where to get it and how much, and I'm sure you're going to talk about that later. So
yeah, for sure. I'll definitely talk about that when we get into the game. So stealth assessment is the idea that as they are playing the game, which is available for free on the Apple Store and the Android Store, we track what they do. We track everything they do. We keep track of which word they're learning. And then once they started learning some words, we kind of make hypotheses about their learning level. So if they get a lot of hard words right, then we give them new hard words. If we get easy words right, we give them new easy words. The result is that every time you play this game, it's completely dynamic, new words, new matches. So to summarize, strengthen the knowledge of known words, improve mental lexicon with more word associations, onboard different types of word knowledge, which I'll show you in a few minutes with the game demos, and boost memory through repetition, introduce new words at their level. So that's kind of like the Vocab Victor cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some word demos. Some game demos. This is Word Find. It's the first game they play, and it's basically a word search puzzle. So there's a couple things that are going on here. One is that each puzzle is generated around one keyword, and then you bring in, like in this case, new. Then you bring in words that are related to that, like original, current, future, fresh, and kind of bring them in as this cluster. So this is giving them already a sort of passive exposure to teach word meaning. And so even if you don't know what, revamp means or something like that, you start to build up a little bit of knowledge about what it might mean. And this is actually how your students learn word through reading. Every time they see the word, they build up a little bit of knowledge for the word. The other thing about this game is it is a focus on form activity. So it will, you have to think about how the word is spelled in order to find it in the puzzle board. I'm going to show you one more thing that is really cool about Vocab Victor, which is every time you finish a game, it comes up with this word review screen. And this is common for all of the games. So after you've seen them in the puzzle, you can go in and study the word meaning. And this is really good because you've just noticed the word, and then you get a chance to learn a little bit about the word, and then you have the option to go and study the word. So it's kind of, providing the right information at the right time while the word's in their span of attention. So the next game I'm going to show you is called Word Lock. We've recently moved this into the lower level of the tower, so we're definitely open to feedback on this. But it's a simple word definition game. You put in the definition for the word and then pick the word that is correct for that definition. This game and everywhere in Vocab Victor where you'll see a definition is from the Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary. So that way you know that your learners will understand the definition. And the other thing is your words are going to repeat, so they might see the same word in this game more than one time. And if they do, they'll see different definitions each time. They kind of learn, again, more knowledge about the word. This is our third game. It's called Word Drop. And I made this game to kind of leverage the power of guessing. So we have two words, cooking and year in this case. And you pick the word that is closest. You choose which of those two words the word in the envelope is closest in meaning to. So kitchen and cooking is closest in meaning. And I made this game to leverage the power of guessing and the idea that people build up this knowledge of words. They might know more about the word than they think they do. So like, you don't know what culinary means, but you think it's closer to this than that. And so by getting it right, it kind of validates the understanding that you have and build on that partial knowledge. So the words in this game will be matched by different associations, synonyms, collocations. Sometimes it'll have thematic matches like kitchen and cooking take place on the, have kind of a semantically similar match. And again, it will show you all the answers and review the definition at the end of the game.
Heidi, can I interrupt you for just a second? I know
yes, you may.
Hard to interrupt, but somebody said they can't see the sample that you're showing on the side. I want to make sure everybody can see what you're actually showing and not just you've got the demo to the right of the words. And can everybody see that? Can you type in your chat box and let us know? One person said they couldn't see it.
Can we see an example of each game? The demos are not showing. Oh, no.
So we need somebody to respond and let us know if they're showing or not. It might be just one person's setup. So can somebody on the chat please type in?
Are you seeing it,
yes.
Rob?
I see it, and so does Elsie. So we're okay. We're okay. It's just one person. So
okay. I'm sorry about that one person. If you go to my booth with the files section, I do have all there's a Google Doc or a PowerPoint spreadsheet that has all of these in so that you can run them on your own time. I'm sorry if people can't see them. That's awful.
Looks like almost everybody can. There's a couple people that can't, but
okay.
they're getting the information, so that's good.
Okay, sorry about that. Normally I like to do this demo live, and it's really exciting because I never know what words are going to come up. It's like, oh, I hope all the matches are good. So I want to say too, my intern Maggie, she's here, she might be trying to talk to you in the chat box. But Maggie did this, and even though she's ESL, she actually speaks English very well. So as she was playing, the words got harder. So the words that your student will see are not necessarily these words at this level of difficulty. So we'll try to adapt. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the later section. So here's, I'm going to take out this pointer. It's a little distracting. here I want to talk a little bit about this idea of the blended classroom, which most of you are probably familiar with. Right now, we don't have the technology to teach a language using computer programs. I don't think that that's necessarily something that we should aspire to because, I mean, language is all about communication. So I think if you were trying to learn language from a robot or a computer program, you'd be missing something really important there. But there is this idea of the blended classroom, which allows teachers to do what they do best and computers to do what they do best. And I think that this is the best possible synergies. So teachers inspire, encourage conversation, guide the learning path, and kind of provide the emotional experience with emotional connection with their students. On the other hand, computers count things really well, remember things 100%, and are really good at maintaining a database. So we have a database of 15,000 words, millions of word associations and matches. So we can do this stuff in real time that a teacher wouldn't be able to keep track of. And I'll go into some of the other features for learning, which you can show to your students. One is, actually, I'm going to stop for a second and see if there's any questions. Usually the questions that we get are around what level the words are. And again, it is designed to be adaptive. That might not work as perfectly as I'd like to think it does. But if you have students who, say the words are too hard or you want to give them easier words, we have started using word lists. So we have these word lists inside the game. We've got the new general service list, which is a really super great word list. Made by a team of linguists led by Charlie Brown in Japan. And they, have really good basic words: ask, talk, really, call, a lot. And if your students are at a lower level, you could definitely encourage them to get the NGSL word lists, and they pay for the word lists and charms, which they can win by playing the game. And if they start using these word lists, then it's going to have the effect of kind of lowering their average. So the following words will be more at their level. Okay, are students assessed by the app? From a certain point of view, Vocab Victor is one big assessment. I did my dissertation on vocabulary assessment, so this is a place that I really love. You might recognize some of the games as actually being multiple choice quizzes. In fact, a lot of them are. And so we're definitely constantly looking at that. And, at this point, we've been out for a couple of years. We've been out for a couple of years, and we've got some data, that we want to use to improve the app and make it even better. Do the games keep your answers and continue from where you left off? Absolutely. We do require the latest version of the app will require registration. It just at the end of the day, we have to have an account for each learner, and so they have to register the app with the email, or we had Facebook. We had a problem with Apple. We had to take it down, but we'll put it back in pretty soon, as soon as we can. But the idea is that you could download it onto your iPhone, and then if you also have a tablet, you could log in there, and you would have the same account. It would keep track of your words, keep track of your progress, which level of the tower you're on. So, absolutely, it keeps track of everything. So every time you pick up the app, it will just go from where you were before. Okay, I'm going to go back and do this demo of the progress room. So we have words that they've learned and words that are seen. And the seen words are the ones that are kind of being repeated until they're learned. And so this gives, going into the progress room gives the students a chance to study the words and that they're learning. And that way, when they play the games, because a lot of times the games get harder the farther up they go, and the only way to do well in the games is to learn the words and study the words. So it's kind of a motivating factor then. So we have the word list. I talked a little bit about that. We've got a new general service list, new academic word list, a business list, a TOEIC list. We've got an IELTS list. I'm always looking for new word lists to add to this app. And then once they've got, once they've bought the word list or have been assigned the word list and it's in the app, they can actually go in, look at their lists, see the words that are in the list, see which words they've learned, which words they still need to learn. And again, they can always study them by looking at the definitions. So when we went to TESOL in Atlanta last year, this was the first time that we took our app to the teachers and gave similar demonstration like this one. And the number one question, I'm already kind of seeing it up here. Can the teacher set up a class? So the number one question is, can I add my own word list? And the answer is yes. We have just now, like 3 weeks ago, we launched a new app. It's called Vocab Victor Classroom. It runs in the browser, and it lets you set up a class, create your own word list, and set up a class, create their own word list, assign the word list to the students, and track their progress. So I'm gonna look at a couple of these. Before they play the first game, how are they assigned a level? That's a good question. It just kind of bootstraps with a word at kind of like a relatively easy word, and then it just goes from there. I used to have, we recently switched things up. So the first game in the tower was one of the matching games. We're kind of using that as a way to assess their word level. But I'm still waiting to see. I might add something at the beginning and just kind of do like a real quick assessment. Right now, it just kind of guesses and goes from there. Do they have to pay for word lists in order to study the words? So, so the game itself is free. There's word lists come from two different places. You can buy a word list from inside the app, and if you do that, we charge by charms. So this is 50 charms. So where do you get charms? You can get charms by playing the game and winning charms, or you can get charms by buying them, or you can get them by watching an ad. I try to make the game so that everybody could play, even if they, didn't have a lot of money to spend for in-app purchases. I might have shot myself in the foot with that philosophy. The other side of that is the Vocab Victor Classroom, which we are going to do as a subscription service to teachers and to schools as a way of making income, because right now we're not making any money. And if we don't start making money, we're going to have to fold, which would be really sad. So that's the answer to that. Can we track the students' progress? Yes. Tomorrow, I would encourage you to come. Rob will be here as well, my friendly moderator. We're going to do something that's basically like a workshop. So I'm going to start, I would recommend download Vocab Victor. There's the QR code you can scan to download the app. Again, it runs on both Apple and Android devices, totally the same. create an account. So you have to register an account. We don't have a password, but you do have to do that clicky thing of going into your email and confirming it to make sure that we know that that's you. You only have to do that once. Then once you have created an account, come back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And I'm sorry it's at 8 a.m., but on the plus side, you don't have to go anywhere. You're welcome to show up in your pajamas with your coffee. I am going to do a live demo. I'm going to create a class, and then I'm going to give you the code, and you guys are going to join the class. And then I'm going to create some word lists, and I'm going to assign them to you. And then you're going to play some games and see the way the word lists come in, the wordless words come up in the games. And then I'm going to show you the progress. So I'm going to go in tomorrow, and we're going to do like the full 360-degree experience, so that you will know when you assign this to your students exactly what their experience will be, and you'll be able to help them with that. And I think this is a real game changer. I mean, I think I think this is a real game changer, this Vocab Victor Classroom, because it's good to improve your vocabulary in a general way, but I think this, and a lot of people, we get a lot of 5-star reviews in the App Store and the Android Store. People really are playing it and liking it. But I think from a teacher standpoint, you really do want to be able to add your own word list to make sure that it aligns with what's happening in the class. So I hope that will do. Does it cost money to use the new app with students where we create our own class? Yes, that will be a subscription service. QR code not working. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me type in
the you can still go to the App Store and find it easily.
You can go to the App Store and find it, or go to vocabvictor.com.download. I don't know why that's not working. So yeah, it is a subscription service. We're charging by the class, but there's an unlimited. Nevermind works now. Great, thank you, Doug. So there is an, you can put in an unlimited number of students. It's charged by the class, and I'll demo that tomorrow a little bit so you can see how that works. Also, my intern Maggie is lurking around in the chat bar. If you give her your email address, we're working to set up a discount code for people that we meet through the conferences. So we'll be able to get you a discount for a couple months coming up here next week. How much is the subscription? The lowest subscription is $10 a month. And that's for one class, unlimited students, one teacher. So we just started 3 weeks ago. So we're doing that. And how much does it cost? $10 a month. That's all I got for my presentation. I guess that was just half an hour. If anybody has any more questions, is there any that I missed?
No, Heidi, I think you got everything, but we'll wait for some more questions. Some people came in late. It seems like there wasn't recording right at the very beginning, like the first minute. So maybe you can introduce yourself. I mean, let us know a little bit about your background, like you did at the beginning.
I'll just go over that again. My name's Heidi Brumbaugh. I'm a lifelong language learner. I started studying languages when I was 12. I majored in Russian at college. I was just a language nerd all through high school. I didn't know there was a thing called linguistics until like my junior year in college. If I had known, I would have. If I had known, I think my life would have gone very different. How do we get the discount code? Maggie, I think we'll grab the email addresses and we'll send you that information as soon as we have it. It didn't give me the option to create an account. Oh, so to create an account, That's actually a really good question. So if you go to the top of the screen, there's three options. There's the castle, that's where the games are. There's the graph, that's the progress room. And there's a little person icon. And when you click on that, it'll pop up and ask you for your email address, and you can register through there. So I started to say, so also when I was in college, I started computer programming, which I just love computers. And yes, I have so many videos online. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. I would love to promote my YouTube page. If you go to YouTube, Vocab Victor does have a channel. We've got demo videos. We've got the demo video that is running in our booth right now is online. There's also a slightly different version of the talk I just gave from last year in 2019. And yeah, we've all sorts of demos, and I haven't yet because again we just launched, and then I kind of landed in this virtual conference season, which is really, really exciting. I mean, I would have gone to CATESOL because I'm based in California, but now I get to go to Alberta and Georgia and Florida and all these conferences across the thing. So I am going to put up a demo version of the Vocab Victor classroom app, but I haven't done that yet. Ooh, I'm getting lots of requests for the discount code. Maggie, be sure to get all those. So what was I saying? I think I've been looking for the perfect flashcard app for a really long time. I mean, that's my eventual goal, is to build the perfect flashcard app. And the problem with flashcards is it's just one thing on one side and one thing on the other side. But again, going back to Paul Nation's work, it's not just like the word and the translation. It's not the word and the definition. It's not the word and the synonym. It's this whole constellation of knowledge that makes up the word knowledge. And I think the more you know, the easier it is for you to remember the word, because it's like, you talked about my YouTube channel. I've got this one video about making different paths to the word in your mind to help you remember them and strengthen that. That's a little bit about me. Oh, I just also wanted to mention that I went to graduate school late in life, which was kind of a rush. I got my master's in my 40s. I got my PhD at 50. And I think that was, was good in a lot of ways, because by the time I showed up at my supervisor's doorstep, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I said, I want to make word learning apps for people. And she said, well, you could probably do that right now with your master's. And I'm like, yeah, but people have been throwing darts at this problem for 30 years. I really want to do it right, and just kind of dig into it, learn about word knowledge, learn about the computer assisted language learning techniques, and just really try to do it right. So I'm really excited to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. Let me see, what have we got here? Oh, we've got a lot of people. That's exciting. Thank you so much for coming to my talk and spending your Friday with me. I hope to see you. I know it's a big ask Saturday morning at 8 a.m., but it's going to be really fun, or you'll get to see me fall flat on my face if everything crashes, but hopefully it will work perfectly. So anyway, I'm trusting the process that Maggie's going to get all of these people who want their discount code. And I'm also trusting that we're going to figure out how to create a discount code. I think Stripe will let us do it. We just have to figure it out and add it to the program. Thank you. Thank you, Elsie. Any other questions, comments? I'm excited some of you have already downloaded the app and started playing. By the way, I see it now after I finished the first level. I was able to insert it jumps in and it kind of puts you into tutorial mode where it takes over the screen a little bit. But that only lasts for a few levels. It's always, oh, thank you, Patricia. It's nice to see you again. Maggie says she's collecting them. This is great. Thanks, Vanita. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. This is wild. It's weird not seeing people, but I was confessing to Rob earlier, I actually have quite a bad hearing problem. And so for me to be able to read the questions is so much easier than trying to listen listen in a crowded auditorium. Oh, somebody found my YouTube channel. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. I started doing a vocabulary course last year. I was trying to do it all through the year, and then I just kind of gave up about halfway through. It was too much work for too little reward. But there's tons of resources also on our website, vocabvictor.com. We've got a teachers page that kind of goes through a lot of the stuff that I was talking about today. The students page. We've got the Vocab Victor classroom page with the new stuff. We've got a blog. The last blog, I talk about Maggie, who's here now. Maggie actually used Vocab Victor Classroom to help herself study for a test. So what she did was she created her own school, Maggie's school, and her own class, and then created the word list for her TOEFL test, and then assigned them to herself. And so it's almost like we made this tool for teachers, but I think individual students could go in there and use it themselves to get their own kind of customize the app for whatever it is they're studying. Do you incorporate the idea of spaced repetition? I incorporate the idea of repetition. I think it's really important. Spaced repetition, it's the specific idea of spaced repetition would be that my app would, wake them up in the middle of the night because it's time for them to repeat the word at that time. And we don't do that at that detail. And to be honest, I think repetition is important. I think spaced repetition is a way to do repetition, but I don't think it's necessarily the best way to do it. So that's me. I'm my polite rejoinder of spaced repetition. I don't know. There's something gimmicky about it. I think of it as like you go to the gym and they tell you to do, 10 sit-ups. Is 10 sit-ups really better than 9 sit-ups or 11 sit-ups? Or is it that you have that specific goal? And I think that that's the main thing. I think spaced repetition is good because it gives you a specific goal and you kind of have a framework for it. But I don't think that's the only way to achieve that goal. Does the new classroom have the same word list included, or do students still need to pay for the list inside of the app? At this exact moment in time, in October 2020, the Vocab Victor Classroom does not include those same lists. Quite possibly just because we haven't gotten around to it. We're really focused on pushing it out the door and getting people to be able to use it. I would like to be able to include those words at like the higher subscription level. So if we put them in there, it probably wouldn't be available just for individual teachers, but we would add it to the school subscription. But at this moment in time, no, it's not in there. It's on my list of things to do. Elizabeth, that was a good question, by the way. And I love, what I love about that question is it tells me that you were really paying attention to the talk because you were connecting all these different things I was saying. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that question. But the answer is no. So, not yet. Well, what do you think, Rob? Should we let these people go?
Yeah, I think it's good. Thank you so much for all your effort and all that you've done, Heidi. We appreciate. I'm sure everybody appreciates it. It was really good.
Thank you.
And I think people will show up tomorrow. I know that these people are diligent, hard-working teachers that know that.
You forgot to say dedicated. You forgot to say dedicated.
Wasn't that the first word I said? Oh, diligent. Sorry. Dedicated. Okay, always a D word. Anyway.
Yeah. Public adult ed programs are not terribly read resource. Yeah, I know. Neither am I. I I really do have a bit of a grudge against Duolingo. I mean, they've really kind of established this baseline that, people don't need to pay for language learning software. 15 years ago, somebody would go into, Best Buy and buy Rosetta Stone for $300 without batting an eyelash. Now I can't get somebody to pay for my app $5. Nobody would buy it. Nobody would buy it. So, I I really want to be able to, I'm not out to, make $1 billion off this app, but I'd like to be able to keep it running, pay myself a salary, and develop some new games. So thank you. I hope it's helpful to your students. I really do. And if you can afford the Classroom app, recommend it to your students. I think it will benefit them. And even if you don't have the way to look at their progress from inside the app, you could just say, "Oh, show me your phone," and look at what they're doing and give them feedback on that. I think it's really helpful. I want to keep doing more. Thank you, Patricia. Okay. I think we're good. I think we've got enough time to go have a cup of coffee before the next talk.
Right.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Rod, for moderating, and thank you, Maggie, for collecting all of the. Yes, we have school-wide subscription rates. I don't know what it is offhand, but I'll show it to you tomorrow, Doug. I hope you come to the program. Your work and apps are impressive. Reminds me of the Broderbund Kid Ed software programs. I am so flattered. I love those programs. I applied for a job there back in the 80s. 1989, I applied to Broderbund. I remember. They turned me down, but it was a big mistake on their part. Of course, it was before I'd been to graduate school, so.
All right. Very good. Take care.